Nikki, how should we say it? After fits and starts, shall we say, Megafon, the Russian telecoms company, finally listed or finally started trading this morning, both in London and in Moscow. They got away about 1.7 billion's worth. It makes it another $10 billion company we've got to look at. Is it a good investment? I mean, let's treat it like a normal stock. Is it something we should be buying?
Well, it was marketed only to professional investors, and I think that was absolutely right. And I suspect, even within the professional investment community, people have hardly been falling over themselves to buy this. It's been surrounded by corporate governance issues, had a very, as you say, a bumpy road. And it remains, it's global depository receipts that are trading in London or ordinary shares in Moscow. And no, I don't think it's one for retail investors.
At any price? It's cheap though, isn't it?
Yes, it depends how you measure value really, but yes, on conventional measures it's cheap. It seems to have been sold at for an enterprise value at it was priced at $20, which is bottom of the range, but even so the enterprise value to EBITDA, 2013 EBITDA, is under 4, which is low for a telco. And the dividend yield is very generous. They've promised to pay out possibly 70% of free cash flow. So, but I mean, which is quite a sweetener. But whether it's cheap depends on whether you think the corporate governance is really as clear as the advisors would like you to believe it is. With Mr. Usmanov, the Russian oligarch, although he has a vehicle that has a controlling stake in the business, does not have control of the board. So that you've sort of got to be convinced that that's really going to work. And then there are all sorts of details within the business that I think an investor would want to look at very, very closely before.
And for the uninitiated, how would you describe the Russian mobile market?
Well, it's interesting. It is growing, which when you come at it from Western Europe, it looks really quite attractive. But it's very, very heavily prepaid. Virtually all of Megafon's customers are prepaid, which gives you a sort of opportunity. You obviously want contract customers, and if you can start to switch some of those over, you have both a more stable and potentially a more lucrative revenue stream. So it's not in itself, it's not an unattractive market, and they're the number 2 player behind MTS, which is listed in New York. And you can make sort of comparisons and decide for yourself which looks like the more attractive of the vehicles.
Right, so it's cheap, but probably not one for mums and dads and widows and orphans, and maybe even something that professional investors should be wary of. But thank you very much for that summary.